In this exercise, we're going to begin drawing the arrow using what Illustrator calls the line segment tool and what I call the plain old line tool. I've saved my progress as clippingmask.ai found inside the 04 line art folder. And I'm going to switch now to the line tool by selecting it from this flyout menu. You may recall you can also get it by pressing the backslash key. And I'm going to drag a line out from the center of these concentric circles right there, so that guide intersection there, out to about this location. So it doesn't matter how big you make your arrow, it's kind of up to you. You can, if you want to, press the shift key in order to constrain the angle of the line to perpendicular, like so. So shift constrains the angle actually to either horizontal, diagonal, or vertical. However, because I'm dragging along a guideline, I should be pretty well taken care of. But we do want an absolutely horizontal arrow. Now, you may wonder why in the world I'm drawing the arrow horizontally when ultimately it's going to appear like this. So here's my fuzzyguides.ai file. The arrow is going to be coming down at an angle. However, in order to get all these bits and pieces in perfect alignment with each other, it's easier to draw the arrow horizontally and then rotate it into position. So I urge you to work that way as well when you're trying to work through an illustration. In other words, figure out the simplest approach and go with it. It's not always easy, but you'll get a feel for it as you work your way through this series. All right, I'm going to switch back to clippingmask.ai. Notice the line is way too thin, so let's go ahead and increase the thickness of the stroke by bringing it up to 10 point, like so. And also, I want to change the appearance of the stroke at the location where it goes into the concentric circle. I'll press Control semicolon or Command semicolon for a moment so that we can see that it just abruptly ends there, where we should see a little bit of contour around the depth of that arrow. Obviously, we're not going for a huge amount of realism here, but we might as well attempt a little. And you can add a circle around the end of that stroke by assigning a round cap. And you get it by clicking on Stroke in order to bring up the stroke panel, and then click on this guy right there, round cap, in order to apply it. And now notice that the cap goes slightly into the target. Looks a little better, I think. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hide that panel. You know something else I should do while I'm at it? I should take care of that problem right there where we have a gap between the top of the heart and this circle inside of the target. And I'm going to do that by grabbing my wide arrow tool, and I'll click at this location right there, and it should give me the anchor point at the intersection of these two lumps on either side of the heart, and then I'm going to press the down arrow key. But you'll see that doesn't make much of any difference whatsoever, because you may recall a couple of chapters back, I went ahead and had you set that keyboard increments option inside the preferences panel to 0.1 point, which is awfully low. If you're doing a lot of very tiny detailed work, it's great. But for our purposes with this illustration, it's a little too low, so I'm going to press Control-K, Command-K on the Mac to bring up the Preferences dialog box, and I'm going to change keyboard increment to 0.2 point. It's not that much bigger, but it's going to help. Click OK in order to accept that setting. And then, even now, if you press the down arrow key, it's still not going to make that much of a difference. I just did it, and I can't even see what's happening here at the 100% zoom level. So I'm going to press Shift down arrow, like so. And that will go ahead and move that point downward 10 times the keyboard increment, which takes me down 2 points. Now again, you might say, well, why don't you just enter 2 points for the keyboard increment? 0.2 points is so tiny. Well, the reason is sometimes I want that really fine control, and other times I want to move in 10-time increments, and I can just press Shift to do it. If I had set keyboard increment to 2, then there's no way I could move smaller increments. And if I press Shift and press the arrow key, I'd move the point 20 points, which would be an absolutely indelicate maneuver. All right, now I'm going to bring back my guides by pressing Control semicolon once again, Command semicolon on the Mac. And notice, by the way, you want to press the semicolon key, the one right next to the L key on an American keyboard. You don't want to press Control quote, because that's going to bring up the grid. I'm not a big grid fan, just so as you know. I never use it. And the reason is it really gets in my face. I think it really interferes with my ability to see what's going on. I realize that some of you who are rendering architectural plans and that kind of thing, you may find the grid to be extremely useful, but I think it's rather self-explanatory. But you get to it by pressing Control or Command quote, which is right next door there. So watch yourself. Anyway, I'm now going to add a few more lines in order to represent the feather at the end of the arrow, and I'm going to do that in the next exercise.